Fantastic Four: First Steps. Honestly, I was super excited to see it. The media folks who got early access started making a huge buzz on social media saying it was amazing. That's when I started to get suspicious. I thought, wow, is the movie actually good? Or is it bad? Because honestly, whenever people who get to watch early give their opinions, maybe because they were invited or feel honored to be there, they end up speaking way too highly of the movie. But wait, before I tell you what really happens, let's take a look at the story behind this new production. The movie is the latest attempt to make a Fantastic Four film, Marvel's first family. Do you remember the last attempts? Some became memes that never die. Others we made a point to forget. That was the case with the last movie. But now we have a new film directed by Matt Chapman, who directed that first hit series, WandaVision. Comment below if you were there for that series, this series where Mephisto was supposed to show up. But anyway, moving on. The story takes place in a universe different from the one we know. Reed Richards, Sue Storm, John Storm, and Ben Grimm have already been the Fantastic Four for 4 years, and suddenly Galactus is coming to Earth. They need to find a way out of this mess, save the planet, save the day, and of course save the family. You can tell they've been heroes for a while, but the movie gives a recap like a television show to get us up to speed on everything. It's funny because they said it wasn't going to be an origin story, but it ends up being one in a different way. The world's aesthetic is also really cool. It's like a future imagined in the mid-20th century, as if someone had drawn what 2025 would look like back in the 50s or 60s, except of course for the flying car. Who remembers the Jetsons, right? Well, it's the Jetsons universe only in live action. It works well in this superhero universe, where sometimes it feels like we've already seen everything. It may not be a jaw-dropping technology, but the way everything is done gives you the sense that it's something new, different, and really exciting. And the cast also did a great job. Pedro Pascal's fame is going to be studied one day, you know? He's become a genre of his own, even to the point of Pedro Pascal fatigue. I admit I was a little worried about that, but he did really well in the role. We know there's superhero movie fatigue, and he, as an actor, managed to have his own version of it. He's simply in the Star Wars universe, the Marvel universe, the Last of Us universe, and even the Nicolas Cage universe, right? Not to mention he was also in the old universe, right? The now defunct DCU. Who remembers him as the villain in Wonder Woman? Maxwell Lord, who remembers? But anyway, getting back, yes, he was a very good Reed Richards in this movie, no doubt about it. He really knows how to act and fully commits to the character. A character who, while being a genius, also blames himself for what happened to Ben Grimm, who became the Thing. At the same time, he's very rational in his decisions, but I don't want to give any spoilers. Go watch the movie. Reed Richards is a smart guy who feels the weight of the world on his shoulders as if it's his responsibility to solve the world's problems because he's the only one who can. And Pedro Pascal really convinces us of that. His chemistry with Vanessa Kirby is also excellent. They make a couple that works really well together as a team to solve the Galactus problem. It was funny in the movie summary when Reed Richards said, "Well, I went to space with the brightest minds on the planet, who just happened to be his wife, his brother-in-law, and his best friend." After all, the film industry loves a bit of good old nepotism, so Marvel's first family should fit right into that as well. I liked how Ben Grimm was portrayed. He's the big stone monster with a heart of gold. I think the 2005 Fantastic Four movie explored his life more, but this new version is like, who cares about humanity's problems? The difference between a man and a man made of stone is simply the stone. And of course, since this new movie isn't an origin story compared to the 2005 film, he's already been the Thing for 4 years, so we have to take that into account. Maybe that darker phase of his life has already passed. Even so, he still has some cool scenes where he shows off for the neighborhood kids. He's a nice guy who destroys buildings when he has to, but I miss getting to know more about what was going on with him, which is a downside of jumping into the story without seeing the character's origins. Not that I want to see the origin of the Fantastic Four again, or Spider-Man's origin, or Superman's origin, me God. That's not necessary. But they could have talked a bit about how he relates emotionally in a romantic way with other people. That drama, that conflict is always going to be interesting. And remember the controversy about the Silver Surfer in the trailer? A lot of people are complaining, how can we go backwards in technology? The old surfer looked better than the new one. I even understood the argument, but when I saw the movie, I thought, oh, it actually turned out really well, much better than in the trailer. The special effects were reworked because in the trailer, Johnny Storm isn't on fire when he speaks. You know that part where he tries to say the catchphrase, it's clobbering time, but he can't, and then the trailer ends? He's not on fire, but spoiler alert, in the movie he is on fire. And we know, ever since the Spider-Man movie, that as the weeks go by, they can update the special effects, imagine that. And what about Galactus? Galactus is terrifying. It's hard to pull off Galactus, but the scene where you see him for the first time is chilling. With his eyes glowing and Ralph Ineson's voice watch, the original film in English becomes a force of nature that devours planets. If it weren't for an actor who could really sell it, it wouldn't work. And most shocking of all, the Silver Surfer in the movie is Shalabal, and it works perfectly for me. Remember, the Fantastic Four universe in the movie is an alternate universe. So when we return to the main universe, there will be a Silver Surfer. We know Norrin Raddey will be there. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. So going back, Shalabal works perfectly. And there's a very emotional moment that I wish had been explored more. We can discuss this in a spoiler video later on, but the choice to use Shalabal, even though it didn't last long in the comics, was a smart move by the studio to please people on social media, but I wish the movie had been a bit longer, you know? It feels like it starts to address a topic and then suddenly it's over. I felt like everything was kind of rushed, as if they didn't explore everything they could have. However, I think this movie is exactly what the Marvel Universe needed. It's a film that stands on its own without needing other movies to make sense. If you've never seen a Marvel movie before ever, and you're just now getting into the universe, you can watch Fantastic Four because it's a movie that works completely on its own except, of course, for the post-credit scene. We've seen other movies that claim to be like that, but they only work about 90% of the time. If you have someone who knows nothing about the Marvel Universe, watch them, they get a little lost in those other movies. But with this movie, both fans and people who know nothing about it will understand and enjoy it just the same. Oh, and Johnny Storm was also really well done, much closer to the character in the comics. The movie is about a family of superheroes with huge hearts who have to deal with a being that wants to destroy the planet. What matters most to me is that the emotional moments are genuine and aren't ruined by jokes or comedy. And here's some great news for you. There aren't any of those out-of-place Marvel jokes where during a dramatic scene that really takes your breath away, suddenly there's a dumb joke. That's not the case here. The humor is just right. Overall, I loved the Fantastic Four movie. The strangest thing about the movie, however, is what people were saying before it was released. Aside from the spoilers and the trailers that give away too much, of course the directors, writers, producers, studios, and actors want us to talk about the movie. But with this new Fantastic Four, I felt like they were using any trick they could to generate buzz, maybe out of fear of the premiere being so close to Superman, which came out 2 weeks earlier. An example is when Joseph Quinn, who plays Johnny Storm, said that he wasn't a womanizer anymore, but in the movie still is they actually touch on that subject. He just doesn't have the chance to act that way because he's busy with more important things like saving his family and the planet, so there was a nice balance. He's not just a womanizer, he's smart too. And people also said that Sue Storm would be the leader of the Fantastic Four, which caused a lot of controversy, right? That she would be the leader and the men would just be idiots. But that's not the case. The leader is Reed Richards. He's the one who gives interviews, invents things, tries to solve problems, and blames himself for everything. Sue Storm is very dedicated and involved, and it makes perfect sense for her to be that way. Of course, there are some scenes where she really shines, and when it comes to the political side, so to speak, in the family's relationship with the media, when it comes to her being the representative outside the lab, then yes, she's definitely the leader. What I can't stand is when the creators try to explain the context of the movie to the audience instead of letting us watch and come to our own conclusions. That seems like bait to stir up controversy, but putting that aside, the movie is excellent. Of course, it's not perfect as I mentioned here, but it's way above average compared to recent films. And look, the movie has 2 post-credits scenes. The second one is fun, but the first one, right, is incredible. It's the one that connects to the movie Avengers, Doomsday. So I watched Fantastic Four, First Steps, and now I'd like to hear from you. What did you think? What would be a good story for a second Fantastic Four movie? What did you feel was missing? What did you like the most? Leave a comment below, I want to know. This video doesn't end here, it continues with us chatting in the comments. If you found this video interesting, like it, share it, and become a channel member. See you in the comments, see you soon!